Here is a secret to getting your next level of success and normalizing big, gigantic milestones. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of CrownYourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now.
Hello and welcome back to the Crown Yourself podcast. I am your host, high performance coach and subconscious miracle whisperer, Kimberly Spencer, here to shift your subconscious mind to normalize a new level of success. Now, I didn't know that this was something I do on a regular basis. You know how we've talked about on many podcast episodes, and I'll drop the link below, about the 4 levels of learning. And there comes a stage where it's so ingrained in you and it's so normal that you don't even know you're doing it. And this was one of them. So I was on a Dames virtual chapter huddle, which means basically all the virtual members of the Dames, which is a amazing group for 6, 7, and 8-figure businesswomen. If you are at that level, I will leave the link down below for you to join, register, and come join me and hang. But inside the Dames, we were discussing about how to banish imposter syndrome. First and foremost, I don't believe in imposter syndrome. I don't think it's a syndrome. I think you're just experiencing something new and it's scary and it can feel like you are a beginner. And that's why it can feel like an imposter. So, because you're just not used to feeling new at something. But we were discussing that and they said, well, how do you normalize like next levels of success? And people are like, oh, champagne. And I'm all for like pop the Veuve, like get a nice bottle of champagne, celebrate. The Communication Queen podcast dropped, our sister podcast with our podcast guesting agency. When that dropped and hit number 55 on Apple Podcasts in the US for marketing, I was like, holy crap, I popped that Veuve hard. Like I had 2 glasses and celebrated. And there is something when you make it your new normal. So this was something that I embodied back in 2020. Before we made the big decision to stay in Australia during COVID, I was just running on the beach and I was just breathing into it. And running is an activity it's very normal to me. Like I'm a runner. I've ran 7 marathons. Like it's a very normal thing for me to be going on a run. I haven't been running much lately this past year, but I have been walking now thanks to my 75 hard challenge that I've been doing. And I've been walking these ferocious hills that I live on. So ferocious, beastly. But back to 2020, I was running along the beach and I was just saying, like, this is my new normal. This is my new normal. And inside of Crown Yourself, we had a program back then that it was a membership. And I was just talking about embodying that new normal that you're creating. And I didn't realize I was doing this at the time, but I was manifesting Australia as being our new normal. And for me, I thought it was just travel and jet set and all that. But it was really living abroad, fulfilling that dream that we'd had on, I think it was on my 2027 Trello board list as far as goals that I wanted to manifest. And we just sped up the timeline. And this is how you speed up the timeline. Like, this is the secret. You make it fucking normal. That's the secret. But if you're like, well, okay, great. But how? So here's how. Say you win a big award, or you land a big contract, or it's something that is beyond the scope of what you've done in the past, like a 10x leap. So, for example, one of my clients, when she landed a $42,000 contract 2 weeks after signing up to work with me, which is a $60,000 investment, she enrolled with me and then manifested a $42,000 contract for coaching and consulting. And that experience, I said, great, celebrate, absolutely, because now I was coaching her. And I said, go sweep your floors. And she was like, what? And I said, go sweep your floors. And I said, you have to normalize this on a level that is so normal. So whether it's vacuuming, sweep your porch, clean out your pool, something that is like water your plants. When you achieve something, your brain is going to think that that's an outlier. When you achieve something that's a 10x leap, so she went from having no clients to having a $42,000 contract. That's a 42,000% leap. So that leap in and of itself, those big giant leaps, when you leap so far out of your comfort zone, like so far out of your stretch zone, even where you're like, holy effing shit, like what the hell? Oh my gosh. And you feel like suddenly you've been thrown into the deep end. You have to normalize that. You have to normalize the deep end is your new end. Like that's where you're hanging. You're not out in the kiddie pool, dog paddling around in the shallow end. You're hanging out in the deep end. And so in the deep end, you want to normalize that movement. It's the same movement that you were doing in the doggy paddle, in the shallow end. But you want to normalize, but the only thing is you have no ground beneath you. So you want to normalize the experience. And so normalizing that experience comes from doing something that's normal. Super simple. So when you have that next big achievement, when you sign that next big contract, or you book that, you raise your prices and you get your first client at that new price level, or you launch that program and you completely sell out, or you land that new big client that you have been going after for years and are like, oh my gosh, finally. When that happens, that's when you make something successful so normal, it neutralizes your nervous system. Because your nervous system cannot tell the difference between fear and excitement. And even though that new level or that new client or that new contract or that new price change that someone just accepted, like even though that's new and exciting, at the same time, there can sometimes be fears or limiting beliefs coinciding with it, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do it? Oh my God, someone paid me that much to support them. Like, that can be a shock to the system. And what happens when there's a shock is just like how your body can reject an organ transplant or an organ implant. The same is true with like a new next level. Your body can accept it for a moment, but then it can reject it. And then we create the layers of self-sabotage. And instead of even allowing that to happen, you accept it, you receive it. There's an energy where you feel like, for me, I feel it in my sacral center. I feel it in my solar plexus. And I feel like this energy is just like, I am receiving this. I feel it like at the sacral core of my foundation. And I feel like my spine actually, and experiencing energy flow, that almost Kundalini energy flow. I feel my experience in my body. I allow myself to recognize, yes, I am choosing to receive this. It's kind of like having like a really, 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 really good orgasm, like a really good one. And when that happens, like so often we can think, oh my gosh, this is like, wow, that was great. And like, what can that ever happen again? Right? The grass is always greener. Like now you're on the other side. Like, can you actually stay on the other side? Can that be your new normal? And so to regulate and neutralize your nervous system, go do something that's so freaking normal. Like seriously, even if you have like a really amazing, fantastic orgasm with your partner and you're like, oh, damn. And you're like, I want to normalize this. This is my new normal. Go do something really normal. Like go work out or go sweep the floor or vacuum. Like my thing is like I'll vacuum and I'll sweep the grasshoppers, because we get these like gigantic grasshoppers where we're at. I'll sweep them off of our porch because they just like die and they leave their legs there. It's gross. So that just humanizes it. The other thing that's great that I highly recommend is having kids. So having kids can really help keep you in that humble state to normalize big experiences. And I literally just had this on our Queen team call this morning. I was telling our podcasting team how proud I am of how far they've come, about the growth, about like the quality of the work that they're producing. I mean, this podcast has grown so much in the past year, and I'm so proud of it and the work that my team has done. Like they are doing such amazing work. They had a massive like shift over the past couple months, and I have seen it. And as the leader of my company, I'm like, holy crap, like I am just so excited for them and I'm so proud of them. And so I was sharing like, So we just found out that we are nominated for 5 podcast awards, 2 People's Choice Podcast Awards for Best Female Host for this podcast, Crown Yourself, and for Best Business Podcast for our Communication Queen podcast. And we're nominated for 3 Women in Podcast Awards from Best Business Podcast for Communication Queens for our other podcasts with our sister agency. We have Best Education Podcast with Crown Yourself, and we have the Best Podcast Guest for me. So this is a huge, huge season for us. And I will leave the links below because these are all People's Choice Awards. So please go out there and vote. And I so appreciate your votes in advance. Thank you so, so much for voting. If you're like, oh my gosh, this podcast has changed my life, or even if it's just helped you in a little bit, like, I thank you so much for your vote. It's totally free. But when we found out that we were nominated, I was telling the team and I was like, oh my gosh, like y'all stepped up. And now we have this huge reward, and like it's just such an honor to even just be nominated. I know every Academy Award winner says that, but like it really is. The work that my team has put in has been so substantial in both podcasts, and I am so honored to work with these amazing women. Like, they are phenomenal. And so shout out to Marie, Banu, and Marissa. Thank you so, so much for what you do. And so we were just all like praising in this moment of praise. And sadly, my 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old, has been sick for the past few days. And suddenly, as soon as I'm like, yes, I'm praising them. I'm like, yes, we got nominated. Like, oh my gosh, this is our year, guys. And suddenly my 2-year-old goes, Mommy, I poopied. And I'm like, humility achieved, like celebrating amazing People's Choice Award nominations. And my 2-year-old pooped himself. So I need to go change a dirty diaper. Kids are great. I highly recommend, if you are needing a little dose of humility in your life, have a child. Like, they will bring you down to earth, remember who you are, and they are the best coaches for your own personal development as well as your businesses. So those are some ways that I normalize success. Like, fortunately, as a mom, that's very easy because I change poopy diapers a lot, or there's a demand from a 2-year-old or a 6-year-old that I need to support them with, that I'm like, okay, back to normal. Very normal, changing a poopy diaper. Great, awesome. So changing poopy diapers and podcast award nominations. All right, that's my new normal. Great. So that's how you normalize, though. Like, you do something that's so absolutely part of your natural daily routine. So what is not normal, and how I see when people struggle when they achieve a big award or accolade, and this is a huge one, is especially if it's like a large contract or like a deal that makes them a lot of money, they immediately go out and spend part of that reward on doing something that's even more abnormal, that's like out of their routine. Instead of like treating it like as if it's any other day, they go out and then they're like, okay, well, now we're doing the Bora Bora vacation. And so that now they've collectively added big life goals and achievements. But if they haven't normalized both and regulated and neutralized their system, then that Bora Bora vacation, I've seen it get sabotaged somehow or another. Like, it doesn't happen. Or it happens and then they come back, but their business wasn't able to sustain certain things while they were gone. I've seen it all, folks. So I'm not saying don't go take the Bora Bora vacation, like 100% if that feels aligned. And if you're not regularly taking vacations or big luxurious trips, then that's something else to normalize. So do the vacation, but do it in a way that you do some, like, as soon as you get to the vacation spot, you do something that's very normal. Like, you go work out. Like, this is why people struggle with vacations, because when they take a vacation, they don't normalize vacations as being a part of their normal everyday life, because typically a vacation is something that you do. If you're in corporate America, you do it like once, maybe every 50 weeks. So that is not something that's normal. So if you want travel and luxury to be a part of your new normal, then as soon as you get to your destination on vacation, do something that's really, really normal. Whether that's like, one of my friends goes to McDonald's. Like, basically you can, I'm not a fan of McDonald's, but like basically you can find a McDonald's pretty much anywhere. And so she goes to McDonald's, and like that's her thing to like solidify like, oh, that's a normal thing. It's a vacation, normal thing. Like for me, if it's a road trip vacation, I will do an in and out. Like that's my normal, where I'm like, oh yeah, vacation means there's a different normal than it being your normal, right? So there can be different standards of normal. But if you want certain things to be a part of your everyday average life, like travel being a regular thing, like living abroad, then do things that are really normal, like in your daily habits. So get to your vacation destination and then go work out. Like go do that thing that you do every day. Get to your vacation destination, instead of eating breakfast at the fancy hotel and having all the luxury, like take your protein smoothie and your bag of athletic greens and all the things that you do, and do that same thing that you do every day when you're at home just as well on vacation. Because then you train your brain to accept and receive vacation as being another new normal standard, which thus will perpetuate you getting to go on more vacations because it won't seem like a foreign thing. So, making success normal means normalizing the things that you do after the big wins or during the big experiences that you're doing. So like, for example, when I took my whole family to Disney World, and that was like a big thing. And Disney World is an experience. Like it was super fun. And we normalized it by bringing our smoothies, by doing our workouts. Like we made it a new level of normal. And if you want to normalize things like vacations and doing mini trips and doing fun things like that, then start doing it like on a weekend basis and just go someplace 20 miles outside of town. Do something that's just a little different, but that starts to train you for that more traveling based lifestyle that normalizes it. Because the goal is if that future version of you, that version of you that has, doesn't, is everything that you want to be, do, and have. If they're traveling, if they're making all the money, if they are signing these big contracts, and it is no big fucking deal because they do that every day. That's a new normal that's a normal for them. You have to acclimate your nervous system to that being your new normal, which means allowing your body's hardwiring to acclimate to this new level. And this is where most people come to me for coaching, where they have either gone to a new level and they're looking at how to sustain at that level, or they're on the climb, but they don't want to fall back down. They want to normalize this next level of success for them. And that's what I'm expertly skilled at doing in high performance, is normalizing success, your goals, achieving them, manifesting, quantum leaps, being your entirely new normal, where it just is what it is and you just kind of do it every day because that's what you do. It's not foreign. It's not out of the ordinary. It just is who you are. And if you're like, I want some of that, then head on over to crownyourself.com/private-coaching and book a high performance acceleration ascension consult, because we will ascend you to your throne. We will together work to explore what your new normal looks like and how you can normalize being at that new level of normal already. I hope you love this podcast episode. If this served and you're like, oh my God, I need to normalize my successes so that my brain doesn't reject them and self-sabotage, then let me know. Head on over to Instagram at crownyourself.now and let us know how you love this episode. I love getting your DMs. And better yet, drop a review. We have been collecting reviews like candy recently, and I am loving it. And I thank you so much for sharing your breakthroughs and your insights and your, just all the amazingness that this podcast and this amazing team has been able to bring to you and to support you in your goals and achieving that next level of your life. So drop us a review, and if you feel so inclined and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, Queen, I want to vote for you in your podcast, then click the links below. It will take you to our voting page where you can easily and effortlessly vote for free on every single one of the categories that you feel most resonates for you. Thank you so, so much. I so appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, own your throne, mind your business, and let's make it rain.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty. And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.